This is our agr201 cultural immersion plan over homeless culture's interactions with businesses. I'm Corey Rozier.
I'm Jarvis Kale. I'm Levi Crispin.
I'm Caleb Schumann.
Some quick facts. 633,782 Americans are homeless today. This number has dropped 17% in the last 7 years and is continuing to drop. This is due in large part to increases in investment housing by the government. And then chronic homelessness varies a little bit different. It is when people who have a disability or who have been continuously homeless for a year or more have had at least 4 episodes of homelessness over a 3-year period. Chronic homelessness has dropped from 175,914 people in 2005 to 99,894 people in 2012. Currently in Indiana, there are 6,196 people homeless. This has decreased by 11.3% over the last 7 years. Only 3 other states in America have lower overall percent of homelessness as a percentage of their total population. And then moving on to some problems that businesses and homeless people face. Patrons are being driven away by a small contingent of homeless who have asked for money. They intimidate shoppers or make them feel uncomfortable merely by their presence. This comes from a website in a small Colorado town, but it applies to businesses all over the U.S. This causes stress on a city's economic values. Businesses are losing profits from theft and just by the presence of homeless people. Simple assaults and misdemeanor crimes have escalated rapidly over the last 2 to 3 years from homeless people. Investors want a clean and safe environment free of homeless citizens. If it's clean and safe, businesses are going to invest when there are not homeless people or homeless camps in the area.
And to ask these questions, we did some volunteer work at the Lafayette Transitional Housing Center, and our experience involved interacting with the homeless to get a better understanding of the situation they're in and where they came from to be in their current situation of being homeless. We were able to interact and gain some knowledge of the life events that occurred that resulted in these people being homeless. These interactions improved our awareness of the difficulties people face while being homeless, and we were able to interview some of these people and receive their input of how they felt they'd been treated in the community, as well as how the community could help get them out of poverty. In the survey, 5 out of 5 interviewed felt that the LTHC had been very beneficial to their lives. 4 of the 5 believed that they had been discriminated against by people of an upper class in which they lived. And this included anything from just being snickered or laughed at up to not being served at restaurants or similar situations. And another interesting point is 3 of the 5 hope to be self-supported within the next year with the help of the LTHC, and which in this case 3 of the 5 wanted to better their life situation, whereas 2 seemed pretty content with the situation they were in, just living day to day at the LTHC and not necessarily knowing where their next meal is coming from. And as far as businesses, we had some questions on a survey to ask them of how they felt the homeless interacted with their business and that sort of thing. One of the questions is, does your business experience any exposure to homelessness? And if so, does the business experience any positive or negative effects due to this exposure? How do you as a manager or other qualified position feel about the exposure to the homeless? Do you feel that it has any effects on business, and would migration of more homeless people into the area cause a problem to your business? And for this, I interviewed someone from my hometown, which is Decatur, Indiana. It's in northeast Indiana. Has a population of about 10,000 people, and I could not find any figures, but it has a very low homeless rate. And this survey was used to determine if less interaction with the homeless cause people's minds to change on how they felt about the homeless in regards to their business. The survey that I did involved Arnold Drive-In, which has been in business for 17 years. They've had one experience with the homeless in that 17 years, according to the owner, and she said that it was negative in this case, and that was because most of the waitresses are teenage girls on roller skates because it is a drive-in, and because of the situation all being outside and being around each other, it made the manager and owner very nervous just because they didn't really know how to deal with the situation. The manager herself currently has personally had no experience with the homeless at the restaurant. The homeless were not believed to hurt business in any way, and that's because they've had one interaction in 17 years, so it's not really an issue that they've had to deal with. But they did say that they believed an increase of homeless to the area would hurt business, and they believe this because it is a drive-in, and it's most of the business takes place outside, that it could interfere if the homeless were loitering, distracting, that kind of situation, that it could cause some issues with the patrons of the restaurant.
I was able to talk with one of the business managers, or one of the managers for a local business, local Christian coffee shop. They've had some experience with homeless people. They include some other groups in there as well, but they've had both positive and negative experiences. Some of the positive things that they have interacted with them is showing them that they're loved and they're still cared for, even though they're homeless, and that they also have the opportunity to witness Christ to them as a Christian organization. That's something that they want to do. Some of the negatives, though, is that they can be disruptive, they can steal, or they can make for awkward or unsafe situations for the customers or for the employees. They've had one situation where they've actually, a couple situations where they've had to ask people to leave. The answer to the third question was basically similar to this answer for the second. Is they're able to show love for them, but show love to the homeless. But if they need to, the management is willing to step up and take care of disruptive patrons, and ask them to leave, and worst case scenario, ask them never to return. The fourth question, they don't feel like the homeless really affect business very much. They feel that customers, when an issue does arise, they are reassured by the management stepping in and diffusing the situation quickly and effectively. If more homeless people were to come, or if a organization were to be set up in the vicinity that brought more homeless to the area, they felt like that would be a good thing. They feel like that'd be a service that this community could use. They feel that they would be able to outreach, maybe not directly through the business or the coffee shop, but they would definitely be willing to put in some time with that organization. We didn't have when we tried to talk with other businesses in the Lafayette area, they either didn't have time. We went at times where they were busy, or we went and tried to talk with a manager or owner, a higher manager rather than just a shift manager. Tried to talk with someone that would have been there a little bit longer, and they weren't there for us to communicate with and ask these questions.
Buffalo Wild Wings experiment on two different occasions. On the first occasion, Corey and I dressed up as homeless and acted as homeless in the restaurant. And on the second occasion, we dressed and acted like an average middle-class citizen. Our job was to observe the differences we experienced in service and waiter or waitress attitude. And Caleb and Jarvis's job was to observe from a distance the reactions of customers in the restaurant. When I was dressed up as homeless, my thoughts were, I was trying to relate, put myself in customers' shoes and in the shoes of the homeless. From the customer's point of view, I thought they might be thinking, why are the homeless people here, and why would they be eating at a restaurant? And from the homeless point of view, I thought maybe this is one of their favorite restaurants. They've always wanted to eat here. Maybe they came up with enough money to come here. From the customer's point of view, I might have been wondering how they can afford to eat here and how they can justify eating out at a restaurant. From the homeless point of view, I thought this is probably a very seldom act, but this might be something they really enjoy, so they can justify spending a little money to do it. From the customer's point of view, I would be wondering what the homeless person's story is and how did they come to be in the position they are now. And the homeless point of view, I thought maybe they're at a turning point in their life. Perhaps they secured a job and they wanted to celebrate at the restaurant. Dressed as the homeless, we experienced a very discouraging environment. The looks that were given to us from customers at the restaurant made us feel unwelcome, and the attitude of the surrounding people it wasn't comforting, although no confrontation was experienced. Our service was very poor. It seemed like our waitress really didn't know how to react to the situation. We observed other tables getting waited on or being waited on multiple times before she would ever come back and check with us. And we had to ask to order and ask for our checks. If I were to do this again, I would definitely choose a different restaurant because of the experience I had at this restaurant. Our middle class experience was to be expected. Waters were refilled frequently and the service was prompt. The waiter attitude was pleasant, not judgmental. No gestures or looks that made us feel uncomfortable at all. And the surrounding attitude was normal because we were just the average person in the restaurant. We looked at the two different experiences and came up with reasons why maybe our experiences were different. We decided that maybe that the members of the middle class don't have as much respect for the homeless people, and that's why maybe they don't want them in the restaurant. And our next one was the waiter was probably expecting little to no tip. Since we were dressed as homeless, this could have gave her a bad attitude towards us. And we also thought the waiter, because we give her little or no tip, would associate more importance with her other customers over us.
When me and Jarvis went in, we made sure that we got there early. We could watch Corey and Levi from start to finish when they first walked in the door until they sat down, ate, and left. So when we made sure we were there, when they first walked in and they were seated, a lot of the other customers turned and looked at them and made odd faces, questioning faces that looked like they were questioning why they were there. Once they were seated, the college students who were either too drunk or really didn't care just kind of phased off and did their own thing, watched TV, socialized, whatever. Those who were in the more middle class, who looked to be more middle class, they were they looked a couple of times at Corey and Levi, but they didn't concern themselves with them. But those who seemed to be in nicer clothes, or nice khakis, or nice shirts, button-up shirts, those who we thought would be more upper class, they looked at Corey and Levi a little more often. They seemed to be a little more discriminatory towards them and really question why they were there. Once they got up and left, a lot of people were kind of murmuring amongst themselves, and so we can only guess what they were saying. When they went in for the middle class, it was as expected. It was just like a couple other two guys going to get some wings. So it was really seemed no one really paid attention to them other than people looking. Oh, do I maybe know them as they walk in? Thank you.